Hello friends, welcome back to the cabin, and in today's video I particularly want to speak to families, parents about some of the culture wars that we're facing today. And today's video is actually going to focus on younger children and the images that they're inundated with, and does it matter, and how we can help to mitigate some of those problems. First of all, I want to just go ahead and kind of give a disclaimer that I'm going to approach this from a biblical point of view as a Christian grandmother and a Christian mother. And one point that I really want to stress with you is I want to encourage parents out there in the midst of the noise and the chaos that you can have a peaceful home and it can be a haven from the world. For the years of being a parent and a grandparent, one of my main goals was that when my children and grandchildren walk into my home, that it's going to be a home of peace. It's going to be a home of joy and laughter. And to do that, you have to have a mindset that you are going to be a haven from the world, and you have to close the door to the world when you close the door to your home. And it can be done. And one of the problems that we're seeing in these days is that we're seeing that our social media and our phone devices are allowing the world to actually creep into our homes and remove that peace. And as parents and grandparents, we must be responsible for what our children are watching, because at this young age, they are so shapeable. Their worldview, their minds, the way they accept things, what is acceptable to them, is being shaped in a large part today. So if you look at some of the disturbing images that are out there that are even geared towards young children, I like to point out the sharpness of the drawings, the points on the drawings, the anger in some of the drawings. A lot of the drawings show angry faces, no joy, no happiness, a lack of empathy for their fellow man, a lack of compassion for their fellow man. And that is not by accident. That is absolutely a design. Even the artist may not realize it, but these are designed to shape a worldview of our tiny children's mind. And also another one that is very disturbing to me, another trend, is even though the drawings seem to be a little bit softer, they're overly sexualized. And that is two things that I think we have to, as parents and grandparents, we have to absolutely be ahead of the game on that. So let's go back to some of the older cartoons, some of the older Disney cartoons, the Looney Tunes. They had a real type of innocent humor that would bring a laughter to a child, not a dirty or a dark laughter, but a joyful laughter. And I think that we need to seek out more of that today. What we're looking for is a type of morality that reflects our beliefs and our home. Some of the music in the modern day cartoons, even geared towards the younger set, is more of a rap type or a rock type. And you go back to some of the older cartoons, they're more of a classical music type. And there is some studies that do say that classical music does bring a calmness to a person's mind. Even in the fray of some of the little skits that are adventurous in the older cartoons, there's still sounds that are just not as jarring. And they do bring some delight, and they bring some happiness and some just a lighter attitude and tone to the whole cartoon, rather than this dark oppressiveness. And I've seen these over-sexualized, over rock music type, even some demonic undertones I have seen in the modern cartoons. And the music kind of supports that and encourages that. So be very careful of all of these. Go back to the more traditional. Now there are some modern Christian-based that you can seek out, that you can look and see if that fits their age group, that you may want to also play, that's going to start introducing them to the Bible, Christianity, and the values of your home. So I just want to encourage you to stay on top of your game in this battle. There's so many battles we're facing. Satan is after families. He hates families. And if he can destroy a family, be it through the children, through media, through turmoil between parents, through the husband and wife, he is going to go after the weaknesses, and that's where he's going to go. And a young child's mind is a huge open door and a weakness, if we don't stay diligent, that Satan can attack. So I just want to encourage you as Christian parents to stay on top of your game, love those children, and love them with your actions by keeping out the world in your home in any way possible. The books that young children are exposed to, you would seemingly all be innocent, but I have seen that they're not. You have to even be diligent with those. You want to be careful with the drawings that are sharp and pointed, with tattoos on the characters maybe, or piercings on the characters maybe. Even strange haircuts, strange hair colors, all deviate away from God's perfect creation. So we want to be careful with that. And so I want to encourage you with some books that I have found, and actually it's a little bit of a biased review because these were created by one of our sons and his family, for the very reason that we're talking about, finding a lack of wholesome, God-fearing when I say God-fearing, by not being counterproductive to godliness. They don't have to necessarily be biblically based, but they need to be honoring God's creation in a beautiful way and not be counterproductive to the Bible and God's creation. So I'm going to bring you a couple of these books. These are little activity books geared for 5 and under, maybe 6 and under, depending on the maturity of your child. But I'm going to show you this one in particular. This is a coloring book. It's Wholesome Homestead, Farm Life, but you can see how it does honor that softness, that innocence that we really want to encourage in our children. And it goes, not just the images, it's going to come out in their attitudes. It's also going to slow their minds down. If you want a child if you just want to bring them down a notch, give them a softer picture to color. Not the sharp jaggedness, not the hardness, not the screeching type pictures at you and the angry faces. But there's some thought activities in here too. We have a maze, a treat maze, which is hand-eye coordination. And it's also just teaching them how to problem solve, how to get to that treat at the end. So this is a great thing. Let's see, even here, the animal sounds. These are for ones that are learning to read. Nice big letters, easy to teach these and encourage them and help them to match them up. If you have a child that's even older, that maybe developmentally is a little bit lagging behind, these are wonderful for that. This is another one. This is Broody Judy. Judy is a real chicken in their flock, and it's just kind of showcasing her life. And you can actually see, this one's a little bit thicker. You can actually walk through some of the adventures that Broody Judy has run into with her babies. And this is a coloring book and an activity book. You can name her chicks. It really just brings the children into the whole story. And then here we have another one, Jim Bob's Adventures. Jim Bob is one of their steers. He's a real animal on their homestead. And the same thing goes with this. You're going to be drawn into Jim Bob's adventures and his life. You're going to be able to color pictures of Jim Bob, personalize it, make him your own. Here's another thought process. This is like a problem solver. It is spot the difference. And so this is not just coloring. It's going to be something that's going to really kind of work their minds in a gentle way, wake up their minds, and help them to start with problem solving, figuring things out, learning things, and the enjoyment of peacefully coloring pictures. So I'm going to leave a link to these down in the description box, but in the top comment I will pin the short where you can go see the real Toa. So if you purchase, and by the way, they just put out a second edition of Toa's Adventures. So I will link in the description box that as well. It's probably an Amazon link, but I'll go back and I'll link all of these in there. But there's 2 of those for Toa, and you can see the short, and they can meet Toa, and they'll know that Toa is a real dog and that they're coloring his life and taking part in his life there on the homestead. So today's video was a little bit of a warning, but also I hope you took it as encouragement so that you as a parent or grandparent, that you can be on top of the game and be a warrior for your child's mind. And I hope that I gave you some tools and some insight and some information to help prevent some of those problems, to help stop them, to keep them from being in your home, and to also encourage you to seek out those good media choices, those good visuals for your children that will help keep them calm and keep peace in your home, and just give you a peace of mind when it comes to what your children are engaged in from day to day. And also, I want to leave you with the encouraging words. Don't ever forget that your Heavenly Father loves you. And we'll see you in the next video. God bless.